Another part of this theme, the unity of life, all living things have DNA, is that the phrase that is most often used is like begets like. Like begets like. And that's just a fancy way of saying that new organisms are going to reproduce and make organisms that are just like themselves. They're going to make more, plants are going to make more plants, fish are going to make more fish, best bugs are going to make more best bugs. And that is controlled because of DNA. DNA transmits the hereditary information. That's passed down through DNA and genes. So DNA is, again, just that coiled up molecule, but little segments of it, the genes, can control your traits. Those traits are passed on. So, again, like begets like. Plants make plants, fish make fish, humans make humans. In this reproduction of organisms, there are two types of reproduction, and these are really simple terms for you to remember: sexual and asexual reproduction. If you look back at the prefix list that you copied at the beginning of the chapter, you know that putting an A in front of a word means not. So sexual reproduction is reproduction that involves sex or two parent organisms. And asexual reproduction is not sexual reproduction. So you don't have to have two parents. You can have a single parent. Most typically, I want you to write down that asexual reproduction is associated with prokaryotic or unicellular organisms. Those terms from the last slide. Sexual reproduction is usually eukaryotic and multicellular organisms. And we'll talk more about the forms of reproduction, especially the bacterial asexual reproduction, in third quarter. In addition to the themes that your book talks about, it also just lists out characteristics that all living things share. And so I want to talk about some of those. All living things are organized. And this organization, let's make ourselves the note, this has to do with those levels of organization. Cells work together to make tissues, tissues work together to make organs, and so on and so on. So all living things, no matter if they're unicellular or multicellular, are going to be organized. All living things are also trying to regulate themselves or maintain homeostasis. Now, again, going back to our prefix and suffix list, homeostasis means trying to keep our internal conditions the same. Homeo means same, and stasis means conditions. So right now, your body is working to keep its internal conditions the same. And you should write down some examples of this. An example that you should come up with pretty quickly is that your body is trying to keep your temperature the same at all times. Your body's also trying to keep its pH the same at all times. If your pH goes up or down, you'll end up being pretty sick and be in the hospital. A common thing that they test for in a hospital, if they don't know why someone's sick, is called acidosis, when your blood becomes too acidic. Another characteristic that all living things share is they show evolutionary adaptation. Remember that evolution means change. So living things they change slowly over time, and as they change, they adapt to their environment. So maybe they develop a thicker coat for the winter, or maybe they shed their coat in the spring. Maybe they develop some sort of camouflage so they can hide from predators. But living things slowly change over time and adapt to their environments. The fourth bullet down says that all living things process energy, so they either make food through photosynthesis or take in food to get energy. And this is called metabolism. So when you eat food and your body turns that food into energy, that's your metabolism. And then in turn, because all living things are taking in these products, they're going to produce byproducts. And the byproducts might not be what you're thinking of. This isn't necessarily talking about excretory waste, but it's also just talking about things that you're breathing out right now. You take in oxygen, but you breathe out carbon dioxide, so that's considered a byproduct. All living things also respond to stimuli in the environment. Now make sure you realize that this does not say that all living things move. All living things cannot walk down the street. Trees can't pull their roots up and go for a walk, but they can respond to stimuli. For example, a tree can grow towards the light. Okay? And then all living things grow and develop over time. You are larger than you are now than when you were born. Your cells, you have more cells, you've developed more abilities. So everything from a unicellular organism to multicellular organisms do grow and develop.